Okay, AP Stat, this is your last bit of new information for Unit 1. It is the ogive. Yes, it's called an ogive. No, I don't know why. I don't know why they named it that. Maybe you should look it up. Okay, so these are called ogives, and don't freak out by all the stuff that I've got written here already. I just didn't want you to be listening to me tap away writing all of this in your video. This is just an activity to help you understand what an ogive is and how it is created. Okay, the good news. Please pay attention. You will never have to make one. So all of this process here, you don't ever have to do that. But I'm showing you how they're created so you'll have a better understanding of how to use them. You will be expected to read them. Okay, so let's just go through here some information. The first thing I did was construct a frequency distribution. That's what this is right here. And the data that I'm given, this is to test the reading ability of children. It is called the degree of reading power, or the DRP test. And these data pieces are third graders. There are 44 of them. So these are their scores on this DRP test. All right, so what are we going to do with this? Well, the first thing I did was I set my class limits, okay, to be ranges of values, and then I counted up how many were in each. So as you can see here, I've got 6 between 10 and 20. I've got 9 between 20 and 30, 11 between 30 and 40, etc., etc. Then what I did in the next column, the relative frequency. What's that, Miss Griggs? Well, I changed all of those frequencies, all of those counts into percentages. So 6 out of 44 DRP scores would be 14%. And then 9 out of 44 would be 0.2, etc., etc. Okay, what's in the next column, Miss Griggs? Well, the next column is cumulative frequency. So what that means, I looked back at my frequencies and I wrote them as they accumulate. So the first one is 6, but then after that I add another 9 to that, and that's how I get the 15. And then I add 11 and I get 26, etc., etc. That's how cumulative frequency works. All right, my final column, cumulative relative frequency. Now I'm taking my percentages and I'm accumulating them to the end of this as well. So that means I start with 0.14 and then I add 0.2 to give me 0.34, and then look what happens at the end of the cumulative frequency. It's the total, so 100%, or 1, since I'm writing them as decimals. Okay, so now below this, I've got a graph for each of these columns of values. So my frequency histogram is right here. And as you can see, I've got my bins drawn out just like I would have. My DRP is right down here, and how many fit between each of these class limits that I set. All right, now if you'll look at the relative frequency histogram, all I've done is change these y. Oh man. Oh. Pay attention, Miss Griggs. Okay, sorry about that. So all I've done is changed my y-axis to reflect relative frequency. In other words, percentage. So notice that this looks exactly like that. Isn't that magical? That's because the counts and percentages are still going to have the same layout. What changes is when we get to the cumulative frequency, which makes sense because in cumulative frequency, we're increasing each time through my table. So that's exactly what your graph will look like. We're accumulating values in each bin up to the total. And that brings us to our cumulative relative frequency. So I'm taking the same information from here and just changing it into percentages over here. So that's what I get when I look at this. Now, we still don't have an ogive. I know, it's a bummer. Let me show you how the ogive is created. Do you see on this graph all of these values? This is my ogive. That right there, that red line, that's the ogive right there. So what's the point of all this, Miss Griggs? I know you're getting tired. The ogive gives us the ability to, at any given point, see how many or what percentage of these third graders scored below a specific point. So in other words, what if I wanted to know what percentage of third graders have a DRP below 20? Okay, so I would look at 20 and I'd go, well, that matches with 14%. So 14% of third graders have a score below 20. See how that works? That's why we have to accumulate our values moving up in this direction so that we can see at any given point how many people scored below a particular value. So in general, your ogive, it's just data that can be expressed as a single line. All right, and it's just important when we're analyzing data where our value of cumulative frequencies indicates our number of elements in a set that lie below a current value. We use it to show a relative standing of an individual observation. We use it to show a proportion falling below a specified value rather than a proportion of data in a particular class. So there's all kinds of reasons that we have ogives. But here's the good news. All of this jazz that I just showed you, that's just how we get to an ogive. What you need to know, and what I will show you on your examples, you just need to know how to read this. Awesome. I know you're like, man, Miss Griggs, that was a lot of writing and talking and stuff. I know, right? Anyway, all right, be good.